Aloha y'all and welcome back to my channel. The funny thing is, this is the third video I filmed in this interim, right? And when getting ready to do thumbnails, I posted and I looked at, why do they seem so long? Why do they seem so stretched? And I realized that I had my camera setting on something than normal, and I've already filmed 2 videos with content totaling at around 80 minutes. So we'll see on Snapchat whether I have an absolute breakdown over the visual audio video footage that I've taken if it's totally effed up out of my ability to fix. Obviously, we're hoping no. But we're gonna get into today's video anyway, after I've set everything straight. And today we're going to be talking about what I feel are some of the absolute strongest makeup company brands going into 2021. There was a lot going on in 2020. There were a lot of brands being released. There was a lot of makeup being released. There was just a lot of things happening. And one thing that I noticed, that even if you are a brand that is new and up and coming, doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have enough wherewithal to stay relevant with the hideously oversaturated beauty community. It takes a lot to make a company stand out, not just with their aesthetic, but also with the products they produce. And I feel like a lot of the brands, either ones that were already established or some that became established in 2020, were kind of sort of awkwardly attempting to find themselves, and they fell a bit short on that quality bar. Obviously, just with like 99.99999% of the content I put on this channel, this is extremely subjective. This is my opinion. So if I talk about a brand that you absolutely hate, or if I talked about a brand that you absolutely loved in the not so good brands in 2021, that is absolutely, completely fan-tucking-fastic. You keep doing you, boo-boo. This is simply from my experience, from what I look for in makeup, and from what I've seen within the community. So let's just honestly go on in and talk about what I feel like are just some, these brands have just stood out. They've continued to meet their own standards as well as exceeding a lot of the content that other brands were putting out last year. We're gonna start out with one that has become, it's actually kind of funny. I purchased this brand's first palette sort of thinking, oh, it's gonna be horrible, it's gonna be terrible, I'm gonna rip this person a new one. I wasn't exactly purchasing it thinking that it was going to be something that I would end up loving, let alone how my relationship with the company would develop after trying even more of their products. But I feel like one of the rising stars within beauty, and one that has an exceptionally strong hold on their quality, on their aesthetic, on their releases, that would have to be Manny MUA's Lunar Beauty. Amidst all of the other influencer brands that have kind of come and gone, that sort of haven't managed to find themselves, that are emerging even amidst other ones, because we have Patrick Starr, we have Laura Lee, we have all of these beauty influencers creating their own. We got Dominique Cosmetics. Just so many companies created by these famous beauty YouTuber content creators, and I feel like amidst the majority of them, Lunar Beauty has been able to create something that's very much unique to them, as well as being unique within the community and the oversaturated market on a whole. We had the Life's a Drag palette, then we had the Greek Goddess collection, we did the Strawberry Dream, we got the blush palette, we have the Moonspell palette, just sort of since taking off and going beyond that first initial release, Lunar Beauty has been able to tackle very specific aesthetics and really execute them excellently. We've had the gothic, witchy going on there. You know, we had the Strawberry Fields, and then that was precursor to the Moon Prism blush palette, which is phenomenal. And then we had Eternal Eclipse, which was amazing. Lunar Beauty is just a brand that has really focused on clear-cut, well-executed aesthetic with fantastic, phenomenal formulas. Their liquid lipstick and lip glosses are one of my probably top 3 end-all be-all formulas for those products. I wish he would take that formula and be like, I'm gonna give you all a whole range of liquid lipsticks and give us like the KVD shades and Jeffree Star and just go from like green to blue to pink to everything. Because that is one of my favorite his highlighters. I need a full range of them highlighters, Manny. He has just been able to really establish himself within a fairly short period of time, whereas I feel like brands like House Labs and One Size Fits All by Patrick Starr, even Laura Lee, haven't really established themselves aesthetically, formula-wise, and really created a company that stands out from all the other already existing beauty brands. Even House Labs said it, where it's like, oh, we don't need another beauty brand, and yet they created themselves. You know, it's not that we don't need another beauty brand, it's we don't need another beauty brand that's just sort of doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. I feel like Manny MUA and Lunar Beauty have come onto the market at a really good time. KVD is gone, so for those sort of looking for a more alternative themed makeup company, I would say Lunar Beauty is absolutely phenomenal. Their formulas are really good. They nail their aesthetic. They have good price points. They've been unproblematic. I mean, overall, I feel like as much as 2019 and 2020 had for Lunar Beauty, 2021 is going to be even more amazing. Then let's talk about a fairly, at least at this point, I would say, mainstream brand. They did start out on the indie train. Melt Cosmetics, which has essentially become sort of my replacement for Kat Von D, sort of in the sense of a darker, more alternative aesthetic, as well as a company that produces very unique color stories, very unique products, sort of in the same vein as Lunar Beauty. They're staying true to themselves while also doing things that are very different and unseen on the market. Releasing palettes like Gemini, like the Amor Eterno, I think that collection, the 420, and all kinds of other things that are just different and sort of just unique enough that they aren't something that we've seen from, say, Too Faced, Lorac, Urban Decay, you know, even Huda Beauty, even newer brands on the market. They are competitive in the sense of their formulas, as well as creating products that are just either on that like trend, on the things that are like new, as well as going a little bit beyond on things that we haven't seen and sort of trend setting. An excellent example of creating a beautiful standout product would have to be those fantastic Digital Dust Bee Blush Duos, one of my absolute favorite products coming out of 2020. They are a company that has managed to, even in its like short interim, because I feel like sometimes when I talk about these companies, you're like, ah, yes, they've been around for so many years. And I'm like, Melt Cosmetics just came to Sephora, I believe, in the past 2 years. Which doesn't, when I say it out loud, seem nearly as long as I feel like I've actually interacted with Melt Cosmetics. It's sort of funny how, like, the timelines are just so strange in my brain compared to what they really are. And it really does put into perspective just how much happens within the beauty community to make it feel like it's been so much more time than it actually was. I stand by the majority of Melt Cosmetics products that I've tried, their eyeshadow palettes, their blushes, their liquid lipsticks, their highlighters. They are also a company that has, for the most part, been able to maintain a level of quality control with a few hiccups here and there. The Millennial Pinks palette, some of the Amor Eterno stuff didn't work so well for me. We saw some kind of whatever's in the Beetlejuice collection. But for the most part, they are a company that still maintains my interest, and they still seem to be able to create things that are piquing interest. They aren't just running around creating a neutral palette and collabing with every other person, you know. They're not color pop. You know, they're releasing less, but giving us more in quality, consistency, color story, and just the overall uniqueness of the products that they're providing. Obviously, we've got to talk about some indie makeup because 2020 was the insurgence of indie makeup for Soraya, and a brand that has really established themselves in my mind, and I feel have a lot of things going for them for the next years, is Kaleidos Makeup, which is a company that has such a beautifully executed aesthetic, this kind of like 1960s space age kitschy aesthetic is so well done. It just really creates something that's very unique amid especially mainstream brands, but also indie brands as well. It sets itself apart from the pack. And it's a company that releases bomb diggity shiznit products, although I wish they would stop releasing them and then no longer making them. Their lo-fi blush duos, one of my absolute favorite things. Their highlighters, their eyeshadows, just everything that they have done thus far that I have experienced have been really wonderful. And not only do they create phenomenal products, a phenomenal aesthetic, they are also a company that seems to care about inclusivity and diversity within their cosmetics. And not just in their cosmetics, but also in their ad campaigns, in their promos, just in the overall production of their look. They are a company that really seems to pride itself on showcasing itself being available for all sorts of different people from varying ranges of color, ethnicities, and that's something that I can truly appreciate and get behind with a brand, especially considering how much lack of diversity there is amidst a majority of the mainstream companies that we purchase from today. But overall, Kaleidos is one of those indie companies that I would say definitely go try them out. I feel like you can't go wrong with any of their eyeshadows. Their complexion products have been fantastic. Their highlighters, they're just an overall company that there has only been one thing that I have disliked from them, and that's their eye primer. I do feel like out of a lot of the indie companies, Kaleidos is really standing out with a lot of the stuff they're doing, creating unique products, having a very specific aesthetic. There's just a lot going for them to kind of go on and do even bigger, better things, which is pretty impressive considering the amount of really good stuff they've already done. They're just a company that seems to me is one that is starting to hit its stride. It's got a lot of popularity behind it, and I think that if they just keep going on the trajectory they're going to have a really big boom, not just in a lot of the smaller creators supporting them, but having a lot of maybe potentially mainstream presence within the community, which would be amazing. Another indie company that I feel is kind of shaking things up and making waves is Midas Cosmetics. I tried them for the first time ever in 2020 with the Smoky Glow palette, which is phenomenal palette. Love that shiz. Which then led me into trying other palettes from them. I have the Lemonade, I have the High Times. I want to get the Flower Bomb, and they've also released a couple other palettes that I would like to have. Would highly recommend them. I could not believe the experience I had when I first tried the Smoky Glow palette. Those shadows were an absolute pleasure to work with. One of the best matte formulas I have ever tried, and y'all know your girl is a slut for good matte formulas, and I'm also very picky about my matte formulas, and those ones are just so well formulated for the price point. I can't believe that even as an indie company, they don't have more people talk about them, more people know them. Because I feel like even in like the indie sphere, you've got like 10 to 15 brands that a lot of people know, and even you've got the smaller influencers and then the larger ones. I feel like Midas Cosmetics needs to be in that sort of circle because they are creating such good products. They are a company that I can get behind. Their aesthetic, their morals, their products. They're just doing a lot of good things within the community. And like, once again, it is a company that is paying attention to the necessity of inclusivity within makeup. This is something that shouldn't be an issue, but it is. And because a lot of mainstream companies don't want to go there, a lot of indie brands are picking up the slack and releasing these the Neon MUA face palette release thing. They were up in the Indie Awards. I mean, it was something that was so well executed. It was really sort of telling for all these companies that are like, oh, well, it's hard to formulate dark stuff and that. I'm like, well, they's affordable, they's indie, they don't have the same whatevers that like Too Faced and all the other brands have, but they executed it absolutely perfectly. So I feel like with where they are and where they're going, Midas Cosmetics is also a company I would really love to see them have a boom in 2021, sort of like, because Juvia's Place started off really small. And then they got a little bit of attention and they started going all whatever. Now they're sold at Ulta. There are just these indie brands that are doing so well, that are doing better than a lot of the struggling, flailing, whatever mainstream companies that are just releasing whatever they can into the atmosphere without a lot of thought. Indie makeup is like so much more than just supporting a smaller business. I mean, indie cosmetics really are out here outperforming high-end companies in formulas, in their aesthetics, in their releases, and just about everything that they're doing. And it would be amazing to see what these companies could accomplish if they had the same access, amount of revenue, the same amount of money that they could put back into their business. I would love to see Midas Cosmetics just go absolutely completely viral. Adore their eyeshadow formula. Another brand is one that I actually haven't tried, but this is one that I sort of have a prediction of them doing really, really well in 2021, and that is Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez. I have a hard time sort of endorsing a lot of celebrity makeup, whatever, because I feel like not every celebrity is as necessarily invested in their company as they would like their audience to believe. House Labs, in my experience, in my observation, is a really good example of that. However, looking at Rare Beauty products, even though a lot of them aren't really, I feel, my thing, when the whole release happened, I was like, I don't need any cream blush. I don't need any liquid highlighter. It was just sort of a pass for me. But as she's gone on and as she's released more products and as her products have been reviewed and used, I feel like sort of in the same vein of Fenty Beauty, this particular brand has a lot of staying power. She's very clearly been staying in with her aesthetic and the kind of like makeup she's trying to produce. She seems to be, it's very fresh faced, it's very bright, it's very, you're not going to get grunge, you're not going to get goth. It's just a very almost ethereal sort of makeup aesthetic, focusing on really good complexion and kind of like a more bright, simple eye look. Which, even though, good skin, yes, but even though simple eyeshadow isn't my thing, I can totally understand and appreciate what Rare Beauty is doing. I feel like in a lot of ways we're honestly kind of moving away. I feel like for a while there, the kind of makeup that people were doing and that was really popular and that brands were sort of creating and catering makeup for was like drag makeup done on like the everyday. We had the Instagram people who were doing the dramatic cut creases, and you had to have the lash extensions and the full-on brow and the Kylie lips. High coverage foundation, crazy highlighter, the full drag beat was really being sort of trickled down into mainstream makeup trends. And I feel like that was kind of the way things were. And with a lot of releases that have been happening, I think we're going to have a trend of more minimalistic makeup. We're going to have an emphasis on the skincare and the complexions, light, enhancing what you have with some fun pops here and there, but overall enhancing what you have rather than like entirely reconstructing your face via heavy contouring, baking, super overlining your lips. I think those trends are going to eventually start fading away in favor of these more natural, lighter looks, which Rare Beauty absolutely goes on in and caters to. So I think with sort of the move and momentum with the way makeup trends are going, this is a company that's going to see a lot of exposure and a lot of use because it has those products that are really created for a more fresh-faced image, which is something that even though it may not be my thing, I've thought about doing some videos where I'm like, I try doing like a more minimalistic look or something like that, which I may do. I don't know. Y'all know that 9 times out of 10, we are rocking the blue, the pink, the purple, the orange, the puce, more than we are a little subtle shimmer on my lid and some eyeliner. But even with that being said, I can understand and appreciate what Rare Beauty is doing and what they have established within their company, and what I think is really going to hold well with the progression of them, as well as just sort of the movement of the makeup environment. Okay. 2 other fairly expensive, bougie, definitely. This is sort of a yes, but no, yes, but let me explain. Natasha Denona. This is sort of I feel like it's really good if. I am someone who appreciates and loves a fair amount of Natasha Denona products. I love her blushes. I love her highlighters. I love her $65 palettes. I love her cream face palettes. I love her large face. There is a fair breadth of products by her that I appreciate, use, and endorse. With that being said, there's also some stuff by her that I did $129, but no. I feel like Natasha Denona would have so much going for it. They are already a company that has a lot of loyal consumers, and they don't care. They don't give 2 F's about my opinion. But I feel like in 2021, what would be so good for them to do as a company is to they already don't release a huge amount of products, which is fantastic. That is something that I enjoy seeing within a brand where you're not releasing every other thing every other week. Take time to curate your releases, to really think about them, think about how they're going to impact the environment they're being released into. And so if they were to take that same energy and funnel it into releases like their $65 palettes, like their the blush palettes, if they were to take that concentrated effort on quality, on aesthetic, on establishing this reliable theme, I think it would be absolutely amazing. They have released a lot of good products this year, but they've also released a lot of products that haven't been the most amazing. When you release less, you are able to focus more on quality control. And if they can take like a step back and kind of, be like, all right, maybe we don't need to release all kinds of everything, because in the beginning, Natasha Denona, you remember, she didn't release palettes a lot. And every time she did release one, people lost their minds. And then sort of as popularity and as everything kicked up and they existed for longer, the longer they were on the market, the more they started to release. We had the special edition highlighters, we had the little mini palettes, we had the little like blush duos, the single blush, like a lot of little things. Whereas I would rather like to see a more concentrated effort on those standout, really well done releases. Take the energy that was put into the $65 palettes and take that and move it into the following year. Because I love a lot of the stuff and I would love to see a lot more of it done just correctly, have that execution on point. Because as expensive as they are and as bougie as they are, the products that I really, really like by them, I really like, and are basically end-all, be-all, true, die-hard products. So I would love to see that energy just focus on everything that they do and have a little bit less emphasis on just trying to release as much as the next company. Another company that I see going pretty well in 2021, and this is sort of also again catering to that kind of shift in complexion, the shift in focus on what the makeup trends are. I feel like we're seeing a bit less super intense look. Once again, less structured, more focus on your overall complexion rather than the intricate details of each aspect of your look. Patrick Ta, a person who has released blushes that I absolutely love. They are some of the most expensive blushes that I own, and I absolutely adore them and strongly recommend the formula. Now, he has also released a fair amount of products that I haven't tried. He's got lip gloss. He's got blush duos, which, had it been 2 powder duos, they would have been in my hot little hands. He's also got the highlighter sprays and stuff like that. But so far, he's got lip products that I absolutely love. And a lot of his aesthetic, I feel, me personally, my whatever, is once again sort of like Rare Beauty, going into that emphasis on complexion, emphasis on healthy skin, more minimalistic, more streamlined, less just sort of kind of throwing everything in, including the kitchen sink. So seeing this emphasis on these complexion products and seeing sort of his very clean, very streamlined, once again, I see this trend, like we've got the Makeup by Mario, that's a very clean, simple, straight up aesthetic. I don't think Mario's makeup brand is as powerful, as impactful as Patrick Ta's. I feel like the Makeup Mario one was kind of a little bit lackluster and then suffered from that. It had a large amount of products released at once, and then it had a lot of releases after the brand was launched. I obviously have no idea if that is actually a better maneuver, but from a consumer's point of view, it gets pretty overwhelming, at least to me. I like seeing a brand rather focus on something that has a standout formula, like the Patrick Ta blushes, and then waiting and seeing how that was accepted and then moving forward with that. I feel like Patrick Ta, or at least his company, is a brand that really is able to look at the environment and release products that are pertinent to those particular times and trends. He's got a very straightforward, clean aesthetic. He's got products that are formulated very well. And like I said, I feel like in this boom of a fresher faced complexion trend, his company, if they continue doing what they're doing, is just seriously going to take off. I mean, not that it already hasn't, but you know what I mean. As I've done these videos and as I've done, kind of seen how my makeup journey has gone, Too Faced, Urban Decay, even Lorac, Smashbox, even ABH to a certain degree have sort of become, their mainstream staples because they're what people know. But there are often these other brands that are really the ones that are creating those standout products that really capture the consumer with their formulas, with their aesthetic, with what they're providing, rather than just sort of releasing the same thing every time we do, holding on to an older version of ourselves. For example, I thought that initially, before it became all kinds of crazy, the Norvina extension of ABH was a very good step in the right direction, and then they released everything, and then they just stopped releasing stuff. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of all the things that go into releasing products. This is just me without a degree talking about these things. But when you look at that against a brand like Patrick Ta that seems to take more time and more effort into the specific products that are being released, they just manage to stay very true to who they are. And like I said, I keep bringing it that beautiful emphasis on complexion and everything like that. If that going in there, I feel like him and Rare Beauty and some of those other brands that are just soft, just simple, creating good, solid products that get the job done and get it done well in a manner that is consumer friendly while also being aesthetically pleasing. Okay, those are the companies that I'm going to be talking about today. I don't know if this is an interesting video or not, y'all, that I know that I've been going back and forth, Tennessee, Virginia, and my emotions have been like, ooh. And so when it comes to creating new content and coming up with ideas of things, it's kind of just me having a thought and thinking, oh, that might be fun to talk about. And then if I can make a video out of it, I do. I would love to hear what y'all have to say about the brands that I talked about. Like I said, this is subjective. This is just me. I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to y'all, if you know what I mean. I would also love to hear about a brand down below that you think is a brand that is just chugging strong and true through the year, who you think is either going to be a rising star or a brand that is just super solid. Love to hear that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!